All right. So we'll get back into it. So we just finished watching the unreleased 1994 Roger Corman Fantastic Four. Bucky, would you like to give...
I think I went blind in one eye. Hold on.
You went blind in one eye? From the sight of how bad it was?
No. What do you figure... Let's see here. How many years has it been now?
Well, let's give the history of it for like what...
And it's now 19, so 24.
Well, let's explain the story of like how it happened. Like...
Well, we don't even have... All right, so re-explain your story. And then
I mean...
explain
Yeah.
From what I gathered when I was a kid, this movie came out in 94. I was 14. So what I gathered was Marvel in the 80s sold the rights to Fantastic Four to Roger Corman. Well, Corman was sitting on them for so long that at the last month before they were to expire to go back to Marvel, he decided to go ahead and make a movie. Henceforth, we got this movie. But the problem was, it never got a theatrical release. It was going straight to VHS. And everybody remembers straight to VHS with Block Night Busters on Friday night. Yeah, baby. Plus, we had West Coast Video, Couch Potatoes, and
I remember Couch Potato.
Every mom and pop video
Remember the
store.
fucking mom and pop video store on like fucking right on Broad Street? There used to be one like
The one over there?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I used to go
The
there.
red and blue
5 day
cases?
rentals, yeah.
Hell yeah. I remember that
for
store.
$5. I used to hit that shit up every week.
And then all of a sudden, when they put it out, and then a week later they pulled it. So some of us got to see it, some of us didn't get to see it, but some of us got to see it in the bootleg. But then they came out with a documentary, which Jarrett now will tell us about.
All right, so there is a documentary called Doom, where it apparently gives some outlight. So this movie was filmed like December, like the beginning of December of 92. They went into post and they were doing promotion all of 94. It was set to premiere in 1994 at the Mall of America. And then one of the executives at Fox, who would end up like going on to do the 2005 Fantastic Four movie, made sure that they held up all screenings. They pulled it so that, you know, he could make the real Fantastic Four movie later on. Avia Wright, who's been an executive producer on all of the Marvel movies up to that point, was like, hey, you know, like, I'm going to have all the copies and hide them, but there was one employee who, like, snuck it, and pretty much that's how it got into the bootleg market. Yeah, pretty much. So that's why there's no official HD copy of this movie. But it is available on YouTube, which we will also attach in the description below. But, yeah, and overall, we just got done watching it. I think the last time I saw it was like a year or two ago. Bucky, you said this is Angel's first time seeing it. So, and you haven't seen it in years.
I haven't seen it since I was probably 16. And we're talking years ago. I mean, watching it now and comparing it to what we've had with Fantastic Four, then we had Rise of the Silver Surfer, and then we had Fan Four Stick. This actually stands up
better. It holds up. It is a good story. I love the fact, like, as I was watching it, I came in expecting to see like this hokey, you know, crappy animation, crappy one-liners, all the stuff, but it really didn't. Like, it stayed true to the actual characters from the comics. It stayed true to the actual looks. It stayed true to, like, even with the exception of maybe Mole Man,
who was called the Jeweler.
Who was called the
Jeweler.
Jeweler.
Because that's
and
was
that
a
one
licensing
scene where he changes back and forth.
Yeah.
I want to say that it told a good story, and not only that, it built a world without being simplistic. It introduced characters without giving them this huge time to do this convoluted backstory, and it made you want to. Because I swear, I always say this, that the X-Men cartoon that came out, like, I think it was the 90s,
92, yeah,
was the best way to do a franchise, a spin-off from comics, because they would add characters and you would see images of other mutants and there would be no reference. It would just be this, and they expected the audience to either research or not care. And because I remember watching the first one, you see like Cannonball, you see a bunch of people like in the background. You don't know who the hell these people are. It took me years before I realized.
But they make you want to go back and yeah.
And it took me years. Like it took me years later to find out that who Cannonball was.
X Factor, if I'm correct, right?
It was New Mutants.
New Mutants and then X Factor.
X-Force.
Yeah, X-Force. There we go.
Cable. And then I went back and rewatched and I'm like, oh shit, this is fucking Cannonball in the background, or like all this stuff, and like that's how you want to do it, though. You want you want it to be circular. You know what I mean? You want to, like, have the thing, the source material.
The Thing.
Then you have the spinoff from a different media type. Then you want them to go back to the source material.
I will say this. I feel like, considering the fact that Roger Corman said we're going to make this movie in a month on a budget of $1 million, I think it was very well done.
That's what I'm saying. And that was the thing. I saw no plot holes in this movie. It's kind of sad that a movie this far back can make more sense and have a better story than what we have now when we spend all this money on movies now.
And we're about to embark on the 2005 Fantastic Four. But I will say this, with the exception of obviously the end scene where, like, Mr. Fantastic's arm is like,
Right. It
like
wasn't
in the
hokey,
thing.
It wasn't campy.
I think Bucky was saying it. The Doctor Doom costume, and I agree, is the most accurate.
Very
Even
accurate.
his characterization my only beef with it is he does a lot of hand gestures, but I guess they wanted it to be.
They wanted it to look like a Jack Kirby comic because if you look at the comics, he does
always
do
like,
that.
yeah,
He's
this.
always doing this. He's
But,
always like,
he
yeah.
had no powers. He used a gun. His dialogue was like, my favorite scene is when he shows up on the screen and he's like, "It's nice to see me." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because that's like classic Doom.
I think the best line is like when the jeweler is like, "Oh, stop or I'll shoot her." He just looks like, so. It's just like,
Give a
damn.
fuck. It's awesome. Or like he's nonchalant about blowing up New York. I feel like this movie stayed true to what the comics are, and that's why I like it so much. Like, there's no like conflict and like dark emotions. It's not complex. It's simple.
All right, we definitely have to talk about the fact that, okay, so the movie starts off 10 hours, wow.
10 years.
The Long Island sitting. It starts off, whatchamacallit, 10 years before the actual story comes into play, and you meet a young Johnny Storm and Sue Storm.
Which is a little.
Yeah, it's
fucking-
creepy. It's just like,
Fucking 30-year-old dating a 35-year-old.
Yeah.
Fucking, not even dating.
Well,
just
we'll
fucking
Reed-
meeting and then saying, "Hey, guess what? We're gonna get married."
well, that's the thing. Reed's in college. He's in grad school. So when he meets Sue, I think she's a teenager, like 14 or something.
If at the maximum.
Yeah,
Maybe
and then
15,
10 years later, he's like,
Holy
oh.
shit, she grew up nice.
And she's like, yeah, I still have a crush on you. It's like, well, fuck.
He lucked out on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I will say the only negative thing I can really think of is I didn't like the whole, if they took out the whole thing, like transforming back into Ben Grimm and then changing back into the Thing because he gets angry, I'm like, what is the point in that?
I could definitely do without that.
Yeah.
But even that small bit didn't deter me from the rest of the movie.
I think the costumes are
Like, the
really
costumes,
accurate.
costumes
Yeah,
very
costumes are
hokey
on par.
looking, but
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like the original costumes. I find, like, a lot of times when you find these new media, like, I just got done watching Titans. And the whole time I'm watching Titans and I'm watching fucking Robin, I'm like, this guy is so fucking angsty. And I was like, the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, this guy would make a better Red Hood. With, like, the character plot-wise they're going. That was like, then he would have Robin. Because Robin was never this fucking angsty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, like, the thing now. You have all these complicated characters. But when, back in the comics first come, yeah, there was some slight complications, but, like, it started off simple.
Well, I mean, there's even clever moments in here. Like, I love when the doctor is trying to, like, give the blood sample and
Yeah.
everything, and you don't turn into fire. Like, each one of them has their own personality, where it's just like, I don't know, it's funny, it's charming, it's very Kirby-esque.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, if you read the original Fantastic Four comics, like, it's very hokey, very jokey, but they still have that cosmic side. I will say this, the Colossus thing was a bust. Like,
The Storm. I don't know why they named the Storm Colossus. That was the only thing I couldn't figure out. That made no sense.
without the X-Men Colossus, I'm just saying.
Because every time they said it, I expected to, like, you see the metal guy. But I feel like it was good. It was the closest thing to the origin. It made sense.
Yeah. All right, so Bucky, you haven't seen this in the year 16. Here's the ultimate question. Does it still hold up, and is it better than the 2005 one? Because I know that you really like the 2005 Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I like the 2005 Fantastic
Do you think
Four.
this is better?
Honestly, storyline wise, yeah. This is actually better than I. See, I'm gonna say this because Rise of the Silver Surfer is garbage.
I agree.
We were supposed to get Galactus,
Yeah.
and we got this big cloud. This one has a better storyline, and possibly even a better storyline than the first Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I stand by it. I think this is the of the Fantastic Fours I've seen, and I've seen everything that's come out.
The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, go on.
This is the best one. Literally, if you just play them, if you listen to them, each one by one, audio, and don't worry about the graphics, don't worry about anything like that, this stands up better.
Especially, what was that TV show that was out like a few? I want to say maybe like
Cartoon?
Oh, on ABC, right, with Michael
Yeah.
Chiklis,
Yeah.
No Ordinary Family.
yeah, that one. That was almost like Fantastic.
It
Four.
was, and you know what they did? I liked No Ordinary Family up until like the problem with that is that they rushed the last couple episodes
Yeah.
because the ratings were low, and then on top of that, one of the cast members was pregnant, so they said we have to write this in really quick. So it felt very like disjointed, but I'll say this: I think that obviously the Michael Chiklis costume looks better, but beside the graphics, again, I feel like the 1994 unreleased Fantastic Four, ultimately, if it was released in 1994, would it have still held up, or would it have held its glory in the name of Marvel?
I'm not.
Only because they built a world in
Alright.
one movie. They built it. Listen, they introduced
They introduced a
Snowman,
lot.
They introduced Doom. They introduced Doom's guards. They introduced Doombot. They even hinted a little bit at AIM. They introduced all these things, and they did it in a way that you weren't lost. You weren't like, who the fuck? I didn't feel like, now, a lot of times with movies now, you have to go back.
I see you like pondering.
You have to go back
I
and
do want to know why you're like.
It's tough. I mean, like, would it stand up? No. I feel as though what we had in 2005 compared to this one, it's tough because it's when you take something, you remake it, and if you remake it 11 years later, bam, it's going to be better 11 years later. And you're looking at what you had then, and you're like, oh, it's like Howard the Duck.
I stand by Howard the Duck.
You're like, okay.
You like Howard the Duck?
I loved Howard the Duck as a kid.
Really?
So it's like,
I never read the comic, so I don't know if it holds up to the comic.
to
but I
me,
like
does it hold up? Not entirely. Storyline wise, it's better.
I feel like the flow in the unreleased movie definitely
It's good.
it does it does feel more practical. There are little things that I really like. There's things I appreciate that me and you, Angel, actually agree on with Doom not having powers, but he is very over the top, but it's meant to be that cheesy bit. I think to me personally, the best Doom is in Earth's Mightiest Heroes when he's like taking on all the Avengers plus
That's
the
like the
Fantastic
cartoon.
Four. Yeah, it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, do I think if it was released,
If
would
you
it?
had this
I don't
exact
think so.
script,
I don't think so. And the
With-
only
This exact script
With
you were
good special effects.
Good special effects.
I don't think
you don't
so.
think it would hold up.
And the only reason why I say that is because you have to keep in mind the perspective of like 1994, Marvel was seen as a joke. You had the 90s Captain America movie, which tanked. Then you also had the Dolph Lundgren Punisher, which nobody
I
remembers.
ain't really seen it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, though. And
What's
then
his name? Mary Jane? Punisher?
Mary Jane Punisher.
That's the
What?
name? Jane something?
Oh, Thomas Jane. No, that was years.
Thomas
Thomas
Jane.
Jane.
Thomas
That
Jane.
was years
Fucking
later.
Gorgeous.
No, it's great,
Beautiful
but that was like a decade later. But then you also have like James Cameron, who, if you guys listening didn't know, he was supposed to do the first Spider-Man movie, and that fell into limbo because by '94, like it was like, oh, it's in distribution, and ended up not happening. Marvel wasn't in a position where,
They had control over their.
well, not only control, but like DC owned the market. Like they had Batman, they had Superman.
And that was it, though. That's all they had.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it was enough. And superheroes also in media, they were seen as a joke. Like, you have to think in '94, what else did we get?
Automatic kids movie.
We got Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction. Do you really think that the Fantastic Four would be considered, like, like, that's the thing that I see. Like, I don't think this movie, I think
See,
it's...
though, but I don't hold it to that standard where they're not going to compete with these movies because they're not supposed to compete with these movies.
No. Superhero movies were never meant in the 90s to complete. You had fucking Steel that came out.
You also have
like
things like the Academy and stuff like that who are not going to see a superhero movie regardless of the character.
Yeah.
Regardless. Of
And look, a lot of people forget about it, but Men in Black is based off of a comic book.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but they separated themselves so far away from that that now it's like you know, it's just there are things now it's like, oh yeah, now they're okay to say it was actually based on a comic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel
There's a
like
lot of old movies that are actually based on a comic
Yeah.
that no one actually, you don't even realize it's.
I mean, Darkman, Crow, like these are just things where it's
Ninja
just
Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. That's another one too.
Based on a comic.
But as a
Ninja
whole,
Turtles comic is fucking bloody as hell.
yeah. So if this were to come out and it wasn't hidden and there wasn't that person that that fortunately I will say sneaked it, I feel like this Fantastic Four movie is a cult classic. I don't know. I feel like it's a cult classic. It's just like, it's that movie that you don't want mom or dad to see you watching because, you know, it's like, not like bad in that sense, but it's just like, it's the movie
Why
that...
would you watch this garbage?
Exactly.
It's a movie
Why would you watch
that
it?
You don't want to admit you watch because you know your friends will make fun of you.
Exactly. It's super cheesy.
It's like watching fucking Surf Ninjas.
That's pretty
I
accurate.
still stand by to say that I love Surf Ninjas. It's one of my favorite movies, and everyone I tell fucking goes, "What? You like that shit?"
I mean, who can go wrong with your Kwanzaa, dude?
I fucking Rob Schneider, a young Rob Schneider.
I'll beat you with a leg that's not mine anymore.
But I don't know. I feel like this was... I haven't watched it in again, like a couple years. I feel like it's a solid... It holds up.
I think it does. I agree with that. I would give this a 4.
Wait, not because it's a pun? Like legit,
No,
you give it a 4?
I enjoyed it that much.
Whoa.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
He's gonna
With
give it a 4.
a few exceptions, I had no problems with this movie.
I'm on that Eugene Levy from Like Mike.
And
Whoa.
I'm not even looking at the graphics. I'm not like legit looking at the dialogue, the interaction between characters, and everything like that. I give it a 4.
All right, Bucky.
I'm gonna not gonna go for. I'm gonna stay on a 3 because the storyline was better. Hands down, this is the more accurate Doctor Doom, more accurate looking Ben Grimm. I mean, I'm a little far fetched on some of the ideas with Reed Richards. I can't get the point where his powers he stretches, but the clothes don't stretch with him, bro.
Yeah, there were a lot of shots where it's just
But,
you could tell it's a closed-in mic, and
But all in all, for just $1 million,
I think it's this film.
It's solid.
If you guys please, I can't stress this enough, go into the description and watch this movie. Like, it's for free on YouTube. Why are you not watching it? After you're done listening to this, watch it.
I would say, did I give it a score?
You said 3.
3.
You said 3? All right, you guys are going to hate me. All right.
1 point.
He's giving it a 1.
No, I'm not giving it a 1.
Giving it a 1.
I'm going to
Not
give
enough
it...
Spider-Man.
Yeah, for real. It needed more
There wasn't enough
Spider-Man.
bad guys in it.
You had the jeweler / mole man.
Spider-Man 3.
You had the hints of the puppet man or the puppet master, and then you had Doctor Doom. But I don't know. I got to be very real. I feel like in this format and how it is, I'd still give it a 2. I'm sorry. I want to... Okay, look. If somebody came back, remastered this, gave it, the cleanup and everything, because again, keep in perspective that this came out, or this was filmed around the same time that Jurassic Park came out, and even if you don't want to hold it to that high standard, Twister came out around the same time. I don't know. I think of visually what they could have done with this, and this potentially could have kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if not Marvel movies. So,
Which is very true.
yeah,
Which is very true.
if they gave some love and care, keep in mind also that the Marvel animated series came out around this time too, so this was an easy segue into that.
But then again, I'm grateful that Blade happened.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Blade.
I did not know Blade was a comic book when I first saw it.
Really?
Yeah. I was into comics that time period, but I wasn't because I was, as a kid, when I was little, I used to, my foster mother would go to the ShopRite and she'd take us with her.
Yeah.
And I would go to the pharmacy and they had one of those little rolly things full of comics. So I would just read, I would sit there and read.
Oh, that's
Fucking
pretty awesome.
Spider-Man, Superboy,
The
all this
best.
fucking shit. And then I occasionally I would go to the mall and I would buy a comic at the mall with my allowance. But I was really
Collector's Corner?
I know, this was back when I lived in Violet.
Never mind.
So we used to go to Deptford Mall, and there used to be a comic book store there, and I would get it. And I would I was really into Scarlet Spider as a kid. The clones, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, you know what I mean? I was really into that Green Goblin when he had his mini run, Venom, that kind of stuff. And I was sort of and then I stopped for a while, and then at 18, I found out that the corner store up here on High Street, News Corner,
Had
sold
stuff.
comic books, and I would spend $20 on comics. I would start getting that's when I really got into Avengers.
And you have to think that was
Iron
like what,
Man.
90 what?
That was like 98, 99.
Yeah, so $20. Yeah, nah,
I would spend
that's-
like $20, like
Fuck.
$250 to $450. I used to have a stack of comics and a bunch of milk crates and stuff like that, and that's when I really got into comics.
I don't know. I feel like I still stand by if it wasn't for Spider-Man, superhero movies and pop culture wouldn't be, because Batman unfortunately
Now,
killed the
I
franchise.
give it to Iron Man.
All right, that's a debate for another
You could like
podcast.
Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, but they were still considered comic book movies.
I'm being
And they-
honest. We really need to.
They are aimed at
What?
people who liked them. It wasn't until
We're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to really sit down one day and watch.
it wasn't until
We're gonna
fucking
have to watch
Iron Man.
all these Captain America movies, these bad
I got
Spider-Man
him.
movies.
I got him. Let's
these
go.
Punisher movies.
No,
We're
it
gonna
wa- it
all
wasn't
gonna sit
until
here and
Iron
devote
Man.
our time. Even if we got to get into Howard the Duck one night,
Yo, what's good? You see
would
it there on my shelf.
You
Like,
watch
let's
Iron Man
go.
right now.
we're gonna do this.
All right. Yeah, that concludes this episode. Be sure to like us on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I definitely, I hit myself in the ball. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure we got a Tinder account somewhere.
Tinder, Grinder account, guys' night. What is it? 6 and 1?
Oh, just put a picture of you right now. On the guy there.
Oh my
That is
gosh.
on there.
With his tats.
His
See my show.
man pose that he does in every picture.
I'm not into rock music. Sorry. All right. Until next time, this is Jared.
Bucky.
Angel.
All right. Bringing more to the table.
It's covering
Time.